All right, y'all. So once you're in Blackboard Shell, you'll be on the Start Here page. That's where I got that welcome letter at. And then right under it is your syllabus. So you want to sort of go over that syllabus. I sent you all a copy in your email the other day. Just to get familiar with the grading, and it's got schedules for the assignments due and all that fun stuff. But y'all's most important link in this class is going to be over here on the left side under course materials, and that is your MyLab student links. So once we click the MyLab student links, it'll bring you to this page, and this page, all assignments are under the MyLab Math All Assignments. And then the grade book is right under that. So that's where all your grades for my class will be kept, is in this MyLab Math grade book. Now, I'm going to click on the assignments to sort of show you a thing or two. All right, y'all. So notice the first thing you got to do in the course is this course agreement. And I think it's like 4 or 5 questions, and it's not math related. It just goes over the drop dates and stuff like that. And there's only one answer you can put. I think it says I understand or something like that. But that's got to be done before you can get access to your homework problems, okay? Now notice, like tonight we'll do 2.1. But notice 2.1 has a support section and a college algebra section. And the support stuff is just to get you a little bit more practice doing certain topics in our college algebra, okay? Oh no, if you notice on the very left side of that, it's got all the due dates for everything. So if you notice, this Sunday coming up, the 21st, what'll be done is both sections for 2.1, support and college algebra, and then the same thing for 2.2, support and college algebra, okay? All righty, so let me get up here and go back. All right, y'all. Now, also, if you notice over here under course materials, you got the Zoom meeting link, which will get you to the class. And then under that, you got course content, which is lecture videos for the college algebra. And then under that is support homework lecture videos for the support sections, okay? So if I click on course content, you'll notice like I can click on week 1. And this will have videos going over the lessons I'll be using this week. Like tonight, there's a 2.1 lecture video to give you extra help. I'll show you how to use the calculator for 2.1. There's a video using the calculator and MyLab when you're graphing, and same thing with 2.2 down here. So I try to keep helper videos in there also, so that you have that while you're using your homework, okay? Also, y'all, on the left side of this screen here, if you ever need to get a hold of me, click on the faculty information. And let me scroll down just a little bit. And that'll give you my email. And then if you need to get a hold of me urgent, you can text me. Okay. Also got my office phone there, but notice I'm only in the office on Wednesday from 9 to 2. So if you need to get a hold of me urgently, I would do the text only, okay? All righty, y'all. So pretty much everything we do will be inside that Blackboard shell, okay? The MyLab links for the homework and everything that we do as far as homework, quizzes, and tests and all that fun stuff. All right, so questions on that?
Are we able
No.
to,
All righty, so y'all good on that? Also,
I
if
have
you
a
look in the
question.
syllabus, y'all will see that 20% of the grade is on the final exam. I believe 40% is over the 4 tests we'll take. 30% over the homework and quizzes, and then there's 10% participation, and that's what you'll get from coming to the Zoom classes and stuff, okay? So that's how you'll sort of get your participation. All right, y'all, let me let one in real quick. All right, y'all. So if y'all don't have any questions over that, I'm gonna get us started on our first lesson of the year for 2.1 college algebra. And it's not a very long section, so we won't be here for the whole 2 hours tonight, okay? So let me share my screen and we'll get started on 2.1. All right, y'all, and 2.1 deals with graphs of equations. And on the graphs, they start out dealing with the straight lines, and that's all that support will cover is doing the straight lines. But then we get into the parabolas and cubes and some of those, okay? So I'm going to show you sort of how I would pick numbers. Also, I'll show you how to do these on your calculator. So for our number one, they want us to graph the equation by plotting points. And on the graph they're giving me is y equals 3/2 x plus 2. All right, now I'll show you how to put this in the calculator and get some points. And then I'm also going to show us how to graph this on MathLab, okay?
So are we looking in the textbook?
Say again?
Are we looking at this in the textbook for 2.1?
Um, if you're using the textbook, it would be that 2.1 section. Let me show you where. Are y'all able to have y'all accessed the textbook yet?
No.
I clicked around on it, but I wasn't really sure if I was in the right place.
Okay, let me turn my volume up. I'm not hearing y'all very good. Okay, now repeat that.
I said I clicked around on it, but I wasn't sure if I was in the right place.
Yeah, now let me show you something about the textbook that's easier to use. So let me share the screen back where Blackboard was. And I'm actually going to go to the student links. Now, if you notice right here, you got the MathLab Pearson e-text, but that's probably not where I would go if I was needing help. I would go into the assignments. And let's say I'm doing section 2.1 for college algebra. All right, so are y'all seeing my number 1 right now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
Yes.
so here's what I do to get the textbook to be where I need it to be. If you look on the bottom, it says get more help. If you click on get more help, right there it says textbook. And if you click on that textbook, sort of takes it a second, but it'll load the pages in the book where these lessons are coming from.
Okay.
So are y'all seeing
Okay.
that book open now?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So that's probably where I would go, you know, if you wanted that book for extra help. If you use the e-text in the front, it's hard to figure out. You got to start scrolling through all the pages just to get to where you want to be at and stuff. Okay. So yeah,
Thank
it's
you.
sort of tricky to get to that book, but that's probably where I would go to. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Now I'm going to use the one that's on that book real quick because I'm going to show y'all how to graph in Math Lab. So y'all, instead of doing y equals 3/2 x plus 2 like I had, I'm going to change that and do y equals 3/2 x minus 3. All right, let me see what the chat's saying. Okay. All righty, so I'm going to use this problem that was in the book so I can show you how to graph it in there. And also y equals 3/2 x minus 3. So I will say that this x, since it don't have a variable or an exponent by it, this will give us the graph of a straight line. And when I go to MATLAB, I'm going to use the line tool for this one, okay? So by hand, I need 2 points to draw a straight line. So I need 2 values of x. So y'all, I always pick 0 on the graph. So what I want to do now is put the 0 in for the x and see what that gives us for the y value. So you would come over here and put that number in for your x. So then it's just order of operations, multiply, then subtract. And the reason I pick 0, because 0 times 3/2, that gives me 0 minus my 3, which gives me a y value of a -3. Now, when I got a fraction, I'm very picky about what x's I pick. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, on this one, since you got a 2 in the bottom, you want this x to be a multiple of 2. That way you can get rid of these fractions. So usually if I got a 2 in the denominator, I let my x be that number of 2. So that when I punch that x into here using the 2, well, these 2's basically cancel each other out.
Yeah.
Since you're multiplying. So that basically gives me 3 times 1, which is 3. Then bring down my -3. And then 3 minus 3 gives us a 0. So if you don't want to have to try to graph things that end up as a fraction, pick an x that can eliminate that denominator, okay? So my 2 points I'm going to graph will be 0, -3, and then 2, 0. All right, so I can make this out about 5. All right, y'all. So we're going to plot the point 0, -3, and then we'll plot the point 2, 0. So remember the x coordinate, left or right, the y coordinate, up or down. Okay. So 0, -3, since the x is 0, 0 for the x's is right here in the origin. So that would give me my x value is 0. And then that -3 for the y value wants me to come down 3. So I would come down 1, 2, 3. And I would put my first point. Okay, so if the x value is 0, your point will be on the y-axis. And then look at this one. I got 2, 0. So the x value is 2. So I would go right 2.
Mhm.
And then since that y value is 0, I stay on the x-axis. So y'all, anytime the second number is 0, you're going to be right on that x-axis. But notice, I got 2 points now, so I can come through and draw my line, okay? Now, y'all, I'm going to pull up my calculator and show you how you get points using it, okay? So let me share my screen. All right, so I'm using TI-84 plus. So the graph on it, you hit this y equals, and that brings up this screen, and then you put in your equation. Now, if you want to make a fraction look like a fraction on this calculator, you hit the green button and then the y equals, and you see number 1 says ND. If you hit enter, that's your numerator over denominator. So that's where I can put in my 3/2. So I had a 3 on top, 2 on bottom. Then I'm going to arrow right. X, I use this X right by the green button, the XT button there. If you hit it, it'll put an X there. And then we got -3. So, y'all, there's our equation. So the first thing I'm going to do is show you how to find points. If you want to get points for the graph, you hit second, which is the blue button, and then the graph button. That pulls up our table. So here's the point I picked, 0. Notice it had a y value of, 0 had a y value of -3. And then my second point was 2 down here. It had a y value of 0 like we found. So you see how all these even numbers are giving me nice y values, to where these odd x values are giving me those fractions I was trying to avoid, okay?
Mm.
Now, to see the graph, I hit graph. And y'all, there's our line going up there. Okay. So now, let me show you how to graph this in MATLAB. All right, y'all, so there we are. There's our 3/2 x minus 3. So what I do is I hit this gray box that says click to enlarge graph. I click it. So remember, we said we was doing a straight line. So the top right, the arrow is just a pointer, but I need this line tool. So I'm gonna click the line tool, and then we got to plot our 2 points. So we had a 0, -3. So start at 0 and then go down 3. Now, if you notice on the little yellow band on top right here, in the top right of it, it tells you the points as you're moving this little cursor around. You'll see that? So I'm going to go to 0, -3 again, click that. And then my second point was 2, 0. So I'm going to go over here and go right 2. And it's showing me I'm at 2, 0 and click. Now you got to remember, this graph is going by 2's for each line, okay? It's going 2, 4, 6, 8. So you sort of got to be in between to get them odd numbers, okay? All right, y'all, at that point, you just hit save. And then in the bottom right corner, you put check answer. So y'all good on that one?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
All righty. Now, where that throw a curveball is on this second one. Let's see, I got what, a 8y plus 4x equals 4. All right, y'all, let me see what my chat's got going on. All right, sounds good. All right, so we'll work it by hand and then come back and we'll plot our points, okay?
Yeah.
Now, we'll say the trick on this one, if you wanted to use the calculator, remember the calculator says y equals. So in order to use the calculator for this problem, we got to solve it for the y no matter what. So we're going to solve for the y. And then the support will have a few questions where we actually solve for y also, okay? Because we need to get good at that if we're going to use the calculator or be able to graph this.
Okay.
All right, y'all. So the trick on here, we're solving for y. So we need the y on the left side by itself. So that means that 4x has to move over.
-4.
So y'all, how would y'all move this 4x from this side to the other side?
From plus to minus.
There you go. So we're just going to minus that 4x on both sides. So notice the left side, they're going to cancel. All that's left is your 8y. And y'all, these are not like terms, so I can't add them or subtract them together. So at this point, you can either put 4 minus 4x, or you could put negative 4x plus 4. If you want it to look like the y equals mx plus b, you can put the negative 4x and then bring down your 4, okay? But like I said, order don't matter on that point. Oh, so Jerry, we're all going to have different numbers on our problems. What these are doing, I'm just giving you like examples of mine to show you how to do them, but they're going to change y'all's numbers up on y'all's homework, okay?
Okay.
All right, y'all, so here's a question. I got 8y over here, but remember, I need that to be a 1y. So what are y'all doing to that? How can y'all turn the 8y into a 1y?
Are you gonna subtract 8? Wait a minute. Are you gonna subtract 8y from both sides?
Well, if I subtract 8y,
Divide it.
that'll give me
divide 8.
0. If you subtract, you'll get a 0 here, and then you're moving the y over. But I think I heard someone say it.
Divided by 8.
God.
I'm going to divide by 8, because 8 divided by 8 will turn that into a 1y. Now, y'all remember, when you divide, everybody gets divided. Okay, so remember, division and multiplication, you do to everybody. But look at this. 8 divided by 8 makes that a 1y like we wanted. Here, we can't divide that, but we do need to reduce that. So a negative 4/8, that'll reduce to what? A negative 1/2
1/2.
x.
Yeah.
So we're just divided both of them by 4, basically. And then the same thing here. 4/8 will turn that one into a
Plus half.
So now it's solved for y, and then now we could pick our points if we wanted to. Now I'm going to tell you the truth. It's going to be hard to avoid a fraction on this one because of that 1/2 at the end here. But let's see what we get. If I use a 0,
Mhm.
so I got a 0 for the x, so that'll give me y equals negative 1/2 times 0 plus that 1/2. Well, 0 times 1/2 is 0 again, plus our 1/2. And y'all, Unfortunately, that gave me a 1/2 for the y value. Now, the second number, think about what I got here. I got a negative 1/2 here, a
Mhm.
positive 1/2 here.
Mhm.
I'm going to make the second x a 1. Because 1 times negative 1/2 gives me a negative 1/2 plus a positive 1/2, which will give me what? A 0 for that y. So let's plug that in and see. So negative 1/2 times 1 was negative 1/2 plus our positive 1/2. And y'all, negative 1/2 plus positive 1/2 gave us a 0 for that y value. Now, notice up here on this first one when I did it, I didn't have that fraction at the end, so that's why I could pick numbers that could cancel out the fraction. On the one we just looked at, it had this fraction at the end, so that sort of throws a curveball on that method, okay? But guess what? We got the calculator here. This calculator don't mind, as long as we got it solved right here for the y value, that calculator is awesome on those. So let me go to y equals, and I'm going to clear that out. So I had a negative 1/2. So remember, I'm going to make that look like a fraction by hitting alpha y equals and enter. So I had a negative 1/2. So negative 1 on top. Arrow down and put in my 2 for my halves. I'm going to arrow right, get my x. And then at the end, we had plus a 1/2. So plus, and then I'm going to hit alpha y equals again to get my fraction. And put in a 1 and half. All right, y'all. So we got it in y equals. Let me show you the table here, because the table you can pick out nice numbers. So let me hit second graph to get that table. So look, I could have used negative 1, 1, 1, 0, which is one that we had. 3 would have gave me a negative 1. 5 would have gave us a negative 2. So if you want to avoid the fractions, come to the table and get you some points. Now, I'm going to hit graph again to see what this line looks like before we put it in MATLAB. So notice it sort of goes downhill left to right. So y'all, we're going to go plot it in MATLAB now. So let me find MATLAB. All right, so this is it. So we're going to click to enlarge graph. Grab the line tool up here. Now I'm going to plot the points I had, which was 0, 1/2. So remember, 0 for the x's starts right in the middle. And then I'm going to go up 1/2.
Right.
Now, y'all notice the yellow band, instead of 1/2, is using 0.5 on MATLAB, okay?
Mm.
So 0.5 is my 1/2, so I'm going to click that. Then my second point was 1, 0. So let me go right to 1. So it's showing me I'm at 1, 0, and click. So there's our downhill graph again. So you would just hit save on that and check your answer, okay?
Mhm.
All right, y'all. So what's this one? Y equals negative 2x squared. All right, so now we're getting off of the straight lines. So when we got x squared graphs like this, these make what we call a parabola. It can open up or they can open downward. So usually if it's negative in the front like this, it's going to open downward. If this would have been a positive 2, they sort of open upward, okay? Now, so let me show you MathLab real quick to show you something on this. So let me go back to MathLab. So if I click to enlarge graph, notice right here, the U-shaped tool
Mhm.
says it's the 3-point quadratic tool. Y'all, that means we need 3 points on this that we got to come up with. So let me take us back to the paper. The 3 points that I use on this kind of graph are -1, 0, and +1. No matter what number's in the front or if it's being added or subtracted, if it's an x squared graph in this section, these are the 3 numbers I'm using, okay?
Okay.
So y'all, let me ask you this. If you put a -1 in for that x, what's that going to give us? So let's put that in. We got y equals -2 times -1 squared. So y'all be careful. The first thing you got to do is that exponent. And that exponent only affects that -1. So
Yeah.
we're going to bring this -2 down. So -1 squared, y'all, what's that?
1.
That's definitely a 1. And then look at that. We got -2 times 1, which gives us a -2. All right, so if y'all put a 0 in, what are we getting? We got -2 times 0 squared. Well, bring down that -2. 0 squared, well, 0 times 0
0.
is a 0. And -2 times 0 is 0.
Mhm.
Now let's put the 1 in for our x. So y'all, if y'all put a 1 in for the x, what will this give me as a final answer?
-2.
Because right, that -2, 1 times 1 is 1 again. So notice it's mirroring this one here, right?
Yeah.
So these graphs are sort of what we call symmetric. In this section, whatever you get for the negative numbers, you're going to get for the positive numbers. Because remember, like signs are always positive. So if you square negative or square a positive number, you're getting the same answers. So that's what makes these symmetric. Okay. All right, y'all. So I got 3 points here. So I'm just going to graph this one by hand again. And I try to keep my numbers small, then I can keep my graphs a little bit smaller. So 5. All right, so -1, -2. I would come over here to -1, and then I would go down 2 and put my first point. 0, 0, that's nice, y'all. 0, 0 is right here in the origin, we call it. And then we had 1, -2. So go right 1 and then down 2. Now, once we put that third point in MathLab, it's going to draw a parabola for us. And notice we said if it was negative, negatives open downward. So y'all, let's take these 3 points and plot this in MathLab so I can show y'all how to do that one. All right, so we're going to grab the 3-point quadratic tool. So x squared graphs are what we call quadratic, okay?
Mhm.
So I'm gonna click that. And then let's see, I'm gonna do my -1, -2, put that point. We had 0, 0. And then we had 1 and -2. Okay, y'all? Not bad. Just be careful and sort of verify your points in that yellow band there, because it's giving you the point before you click them. Because sometimes if you're off just a little bit, it will mark those wrong, okay? So be careful on the graphing. All right, so y'all, there's our upside down graph. Now, all right, y'all, let me let one in real quick. So now let's look on the calculator real quick. We had -2x squared. I'm gonna go back to my y equals, clear that out. So we had -2. So we got to use the negative down here in the parentheses when you got negative numbers down here by the enter button. So hit the -2, get your x. Now on the left side, when you got a square, right here where my cursor is, if you hit that x squared button, that'll put your exponent for you. Now, there's also another way you can do that, so I'll show you the other way. You can hit the -2, hit the x. Over here under the clear button, that upside down V looking, we call that a caret. If you hit it, it'll jump up there and let you put in exponents. And that'll let you put in any exponent. That little x squared button only works for the squares, okay? So let's look at the graph, the points by hitting second graph to look at the table. And there's our numbers, -1, -2, 0, 0, and 1, -2. And remember our graph was upside down, so when I hit the graph button, there's our upside down parabola.
Mm.
So they're not too bad. It's just getting used. To me, the graphing in MATLAB is probably harder than doing the problems. But once you figure out graphing in here, it's not bad at all. All right, y'all, look at 4. Same type graph. Y equals x squared plus 1. All right, so let's work that one. That's an x squared graph, so guess what? I'm picking the same 3 numbers. I'm going to pick -1, 0, and 1. So y'all give me the y value if you put a -1 in for that x. What will your y value be?
1 + 1,
Oh, perfect. And that'll be a
2.
2. Good job. Good job. Now, we'll say one thing when y'all use the calculator. If you square that -1, put that -1 in parentheses on the calculator. Anytime you square a negative number, you want it in parentheses, okay? All right, so next what I get when I put the 0 in.
Y
You get
equals
1,
Y
I get
equals 1. Mhm.
Because 0 squared is 0, plus 1 is
Yeah.
1.
1,
And then what are you getting on that 1 when I put it in?
2.
There you go. And remember, so they're symmetric, so whatever I'm getting on them negative numbers, I'm gonna get on these positive numbers that match them, okay?
Yeah.
So this one, pretty similar to that one as far as these points. But my 0, 1 in the middle was a little off on them, okay? And then both these were negative. All these y values are positive. So
Mm.
since this don't have a negative in front of that x squared, we're going to expect this one to open upwards for us, okay?
Correct.
So if you notice this first section, it's sort of a review of graphing. So -1, 2, go left -1, and then up 2. 0, 1, 0, go up 1. And then 1, 2 will be right 1, up 2. So then our little parabola opens up. All right, so let's go graph that one in Math Lab. All right, so remember, I'm going to click the enlarge graph. 3-point quadratic tool. We had -1, 2. So let's go, let's see, -1, up 2. I had 0, 1. So go 0, up 1. And then 1, 2 will be right 1, up 2.
Mhm.
And y'all, there's our opening upward parabola. So save that. Check, and it puts you on the next question. Oh, y'all, what in the world is that stuff?
Parentheses.
What are special parentheses?
Are they called brackets?
Mean.
But what do they mean?
Uh,
Now the bars, I call them bar types.
oh, okay.
But what do they want me to do?
Look the bars first.
Oh, I'm gonna get y'all. Have y'all ever heard of absolute
Yeah. Mm.
value?
Yeah. Mhm.
Mm-hmm. So when we see the pipes like that, absolute value, this graph of an absolute value, when we're done, will look like a sharp V. And I think that thing has like 2 points on it. But yes, this is the absolute value graph. And anything that comes out of these brackets is a positive, right?
Okay.
So let me give you all a little bit about absolute value. Now, absolute value don't care about direction or anything. Absolute value wants to know how far are you from that 0. So y'all, if I was to say, so here's 4 right here. What's the absolute value of 4?
+4. +4.
It's +4 because that thing is 4 units from 0.
Mhm.
Well, let me ask you this. What's the absolute value of a -4? How far is it from 0?
4 places.
It's 4 places. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Remember, absolute value don't care whether you're negative or positive. It just wants to know how far from 0 you are.
Okay.
So y'all notice, no matter what number's inside these pipes here, it will come out positive, okay? All right, so let me tell you a little trick about these graphs. In MATLAB, we have to plot this point right here. This is what we call the vertex. We got to plot this point first. Now, to plot this point first, you need the x value that'll make this equal 0 in here. So what X value will make this equal 0 inside them bars?
X to 0.
So let me see what am I so my first point, so first X value must make the expression equal 0 inside the pipes.
Would it be 5?
It'd be 5. Good job. So if I put an X of 5, 5 minus 5 is 0, right? So that gives me Y equals absolute value of 5 minus 5. Remember, you got to work the inside first. 5 minus 5 is 0.
Mhm.
And y'all, what's absolute value? 0. A big
0.
So look here. The first number you pick has to make this equal 0 inside so that your Y value is 0 for that one, okay?
Okay.
Now, the second point, you can pick anything you want. How about a 6? If I put a 6 in for that X, well, y'all, 6 minus 5 is 1. Absolute value of 1 is a 1.
Yeah.
So that gives me my second point.
Mhm.
So on these graphs, so let's see, I need to go out at least 6 to the right. So there's 5, 6, 7. And then everywhere else, I'll just go 5. All right, so 5, 0. Your first point has to be on the x-axis, okay? So go over here to 5, 0, and it'll click that point. Second point I had was 6, 1. So go right 6, up 1. At that point, MathLab's going to come in here and it'll finish drawing that V-shaped graph for you, okay? Now, I'm going to show you this on the calculator. It's a little trickier on this one on the calculator. All right, so let me go to Y equals. I'm going to clear everything out. So, y'all, the first question is like, where's the absolute value at?
Yeah.
Well, you got 2 ways to find it.
Mhm.
The first way is to use, you see down here on the 0, it says catalog. So since that catalog is in blue, if you hit the blue second button and the 0, it'll pull up the catalog. And what's the first thing I see? ABS. Well, guess what that is? That's absolute value. So what I do is I'm highlighting ABS. I hit enter. It brings the pipes on the screen for me. And then I just got to put in my X minus 5. And then if I arrow out of that, there we go. Okay. Now, the second place you can find absolute value is if you hit the math button over here on the left side and see if I arrow right to number, look at number 1, ABS. So you can hit math and then arrow over the number and get the absolute value doing that also, okay? All right, y'all, so let's go to the table. So hit second graph. Now, we'll say this, on this graph, if you're just using the calculator, the first point you got to plot has to have this Y value of 0, okay? So no matter what, if y'all's is the X minus 7, X minus 8, the first point you got to plot has to have a Y value of 0. All right, y'all, I'm going to hit graph. And look there. Looks like that's at what, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right at 5 is where it's hitting my x-axis like we had, okay? So now we're graphing it. So up here on the top right, that says absolute value tool. And notice it's only got 2 dots on it. So that means we need 2 points. So we start with our 5, 0, because that's got the Y value 0.
Mm-hmm.
Whoops, I'm down a little far. Let me clear that. I got too far down. Ooh, MathLab's picky, ain't gonna lie. All right, so 5, 0 looks like right there.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had 6, 1. So I'm gonna go
Mhm.
right 1 and up 1.
Mm-hmm.
All right, y'all, there's our absolute value. So we're gonna save that.
Mm-hmm.
And then you would check your answer.
Okay.
All right, let's see. I got a y equals x to the third minus 3. All righty, so this is what we call a cubic graph. In the cubic graphs, when we go to MathLab, we'll do one that sort of looks like a squiggly line here, okay? So this is a cubic. Now, the thing about this one, y'all, it's got 4 points on it. Okay. And since it's got 4 points, we're going to have to figure out 4 x values that we can put into this. And graph. And cubes grow quick. So I'm going to pick very small numbers on this. I would probably pick a 0, a 1, a -1, and maybe a 2. So those are about the smallest numbers I can use on this thing. So 0 is not bad. I'll put a 0 in, cube that. Well, 0 to any power is 0. So you're going to get a 0 minus 3, which gives us a
-3.
-3. 1's not bad because 1 cubed
Is 1
is 1, and that gives me what? 1 minus 3.
-2.
Uh-huh. So let's put in a -1. So now when you got a negative number being cubed, negative times negative times negative will keep that a negative.
Yeah.
So that'll give me a -1 minus 3.
Negative.
Ooh, -1 minus 3. What's that?
-4.
Uh-huh. Ooh, and then we got a 2. So let's see. Y equals 2 cubed minus 3. So y'all, 2 cubed. 2 times 2 times 2.
8.
And let's see. 8 minus 3. That's going to give me what, a 5 on that. So we was able to keep them fairly small. But y'all watch this. What if I messed up and I put a 5 here? And I had this. Y equals 5 to the third minus 3. Y'all, 5 to the third power.
45.
5 times 5 times
25.
5. And what'd you say?
25.
Look at that. 125
Yeah.
minus 3 gives me 122.
Yep.
Who in the world wants to draw a graph that big?
Nope.
So that's why you want to keep on a cube. You want them numbers small, okay? All right, so calculator, and then we'll do it on MathLab. So y equals, I'm gonna clear that out. All right, so I had x cubed, so I'll hit my x, and then I would use the caret for that one. So the upside down V, and then I put in my 3. And then you got an arrow right to bring the cursor back down and put in your -3.
Mhm.
Now, I'm going to go to the table first. That
Mhm.
way I can show you all those. So I started at -1 on mine. But look, even a 3 would have made you go out 24. A
Mhm.
4 would have took you to 61. 5 would have been 122.
Mhm.
And y'all watch this. If you got any bigger than that, I'm sorry, but them numbers are huge. So remember, on our cubics, we want to keep our numbers small. Now I could have went to -2. You know, 11, not too bad, but yeah. Now watch this. So second graph. Whoops, I mean graph. So our graph should go uphill, left to right. So y'all, let's go see if we can do that on MathLab. All right, so I would click the enlarge graph. The squiggly line, we want what they call the 4-point cubic tool. Now we had 0, -3, so I'm going to start at 0, go to -3. 1, -2, so go right 1 and down 2. Oh, I think I'm a little off on that. And let me see if it'll let me move it down a little. Let me clear it and start it over. Ooh, MathLab's a tricky one.
Mhm.
0, -3 is right there. I
Mhm.
had 1, -2 right there. -1, -4 right there. And then we had 2, 5 right there.
Right.
So it sort of goes uphill left to right like we had on our calculator. So you save that and check. Ooh, I'm telling you, them are a little trickier doing them cubics there. And I've had people that they sort of shake when they do the computers, and it takes forever to do them things for them. All right, so x squared -7. So let me go back to the page. So y'all, since that's the x squared, y'all remember what 3 numbers I'm picking?
Yeah.
Because remember, that's going to be a parabola that opens up. So I would probably use -1, 0, and 1 on that.
Mhm.
And then remember, these will have symmetry for the -1 and 1. So a -1 squared is 1. 1 -7 is going to give us a -6.
Mhm.
0 squared is 0. 0 -7 would give us a -7.
Yeah.
And y'all, without even putting that 1 in there, what's that y value going to be?
-6.
Going to be a -6. There you go. Because these things are definitely going to be symmetric for us, okay?
Okay.
All right, so let me go to y equals, clear that out. Oh, you also x squared will be my x. I'm going to square that. And then I had -7. All right, so let me go to the table because remember we had what, -1, -6. And let's see, they got -1, -6, 0, -7, 1, -6. So let's graph it and see what our graph will look like. So it's opening up. This looks like it got shifted down a little bit, okay? And we'll learn about that kind of stuff later in life. How to shift them around.
Okay.
So MathLab, I'm gonna click the enlarge tool. 3-point quadratic tool. So here we go. -1, -6. 0, -7. And then I had a +1, -6. All right, so y'all would save that, check it, and be done. All right, y'all. So questions on that?
I don't have questions on this one, but I do have questions for number 2.
For number 6.
Number 2.
Okay, hold on. Let me go back. You're saying 2, right?
Yeah, for some reason, like when I try to graph the 1/2, it's it's not working out for me.
Okay, so let me see. I'm gonna get a similar question here. Oh, I think this one will give me 1/2. So actually, what was your numbers?
The one that I have is 8y plus 4x equals 4.
Yeah.
Also, it's just like the one I got on my screen right now.
Yeah,
8y plus 4x equals 4.
yeah,
So let's see. If you solve that one, you should have got a negative 1/2 x plus a 1/2.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, okay, well, maybe that's the problem. I had got -1 for the x. So it should have been -1/2 for the x.
Because when you divided by that 8, it would have made that negative 4x divided by 8 a negative 1/2 x.
Okay. And then the y would just be 1/2. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So how do I graph this?
Okay, so let me see if I'll let me clear this one. It's gonna make me do a similar question.
Would it be 0.5 on the graph?
So yeah, I'm gonna click the graph. So actually, I'm gonna act like I'm graphing yours for you. So I'm gonna graph that
Okay.
line tool. So what was your 2
Okay.
points?
My x was -1/2, and then the y was regular 1/2, just 1/2.
Yeah. But what 2 numbers are you plotting on the graph in MathLab?
Um,
See, I would do like a 0, 1/2 for that
Mm.
one, and then a 1, 0.
0. Yeah.
Mhm.
okay.
So here we go. Watch this. So I'm going to go to 0, 1/2. So 0's not bad, but notice these are going by 1. So since they're going by 1s, we just want to go up about halfway in between, and then you got that 0.5.
Okay.
So click that one. And then my
Okay.
other point was 1, 0. So I'll just go right to 1 and 0 and click it. So since it's in 1/2, MathLab, when you're looking at the point, is going to be in decimal form.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Yep, that works.
So you plot them like that, and then it ought to have the downhill graph and all that fun stuff for you. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Because I was like, Lord have mercy.
Yeah. And sometimes in MathLab, you'll notice each point might have a different looking graph. Some of them are going by 2, 4, 6, 8. Some go by 1, 2, 3, 4. Some are even broke down by halves. So you sort of got to play with it and see what their scale is on it. And then sort of go from there, okay? All righty, y'all.
Thank
So I'm gonna quit my share. So that's pretty much your 2.1 college algebra. Now the support, we won't do support tonight. I don't usually do it till the second class, but the support will go over some of the same problems. And there'll just be straight lines graphing in that part of it, okay? So for tonight and tomorrow, just play with your section 2.1 support in college algebra. What we'll do Thursday, we'll start 2.2. And then that support class, after we do the college algebra, I'll go over any questions y'all are having from any of the homework, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
All righty, y'all. So, any questions? But y'all, it's not going to be bad.